This is the Scary Movie Clubcast.
Live from the clubhouse, it's Scary Movie Clubcast. This is Megan.
This is Amanda.
This is Nadine.
This is Mackenzie.
And tonight we watch Zodiac.
Yay!
Yay! And Nadine will be giving us a summary of the movie.
So, Zodiac, great movie, goes on for a million years. It's the never-ending movie based on the never-ending book. It's amazing. It talks to us about the technically unsolved case of the Zodiac in California, who was a serial killer, who you guys probably already know about if you're listening to this clubcast. And it shows us the complete and total lunacy that a cartoonist goes into trying to solve this case. And it's a wild ride and we love it.
Yes.
So good.
So good. And Amanda did some research, found us some fun facts about the movie.
Yay!
Yes. Okay. Some of the dang this movie's long fun facts.
Did you subcategorize your fun facts? Of course you freaking did.
Dude, I'm like about to pull up with 2 fun facts for the movie that I do.
That's fine.
So the first one is the shooting script was 200 pages long, and to prevent problems with the length might cause, David Fincher decided to ask the cast members to speak faster.
What?
Guys, I have
They
the solution.
did not!
I have the solution. Speed it up.
Come on.
No breaths in between. Just keep it going. Keep the words going.
And now for the fun facts.
Boy.
Goodness.
This is my favorite, most funnest fact. The Zodiac case was reopened after the release of the film.
Oh.
Yeah.
It was closed?
Well, I think it was closed as like a cold case.
Oh, okay.
And so they decided to reopen it and look into things again. Oh, this one is so funny. I was dying to tell you the whole time. The only real comment Robert Graysmith said about the finished screenplay was, quote, "God, now I see why my wife divorced me."
True story.
Oh my god!
So did we all. Oh boy.
Oh boy!
It was so good.
That must mean that it was real true to life too.
Yeah,
it
really.
was that crazy. It was like that.
That's
It was
hilarious.
So crazy. Okay. And so David Fincher was always the first choice to direct based on his work in Seven.
Oh,
Yeah.
7.
We're Fincher fans, if you can't tell.
And so another one is that George Lucas gave an interview to Empire magazine once stating that the Zodiac murders captured his imagination when he was in high school and in college. So he named Tatooine's Toshi Station in honor of the investigator. In the real investigation, on October 6, 1969, Arthur Lee Allen was interviewed by Detective John Lynch of the Vallejo Police Department in the movie. Arthur Lee Allen is played by John Carroll Lynch. So the detective that interviewed him, in real life, Arthur Lee Allen, the suspect, was interviewed by Detective John Lynch. The man who played Arthur Lee Allen in the movie, his name is John Lynch.
Oh, so just the name is the same, but the person isn't the same.
Yes, no.
Okay, I was like,
That would be
I don't think so,
insane
Amanda.
in the
I was
movie.
like, I don't think so.
I don't think that's actually right.
No, so I
I
just
was
thought
like,
that was fun. I was like,
IMDb
ooh,
lies.
synchronicity.
Like Kennedy and
Lincoln.
and Kennedy.
I love that.
I pointed this out when we were watching the movie as well. Around 1 hour and 40 minutes, the real-life Zodiac survivor Brian C. Hartnell makes a cameo with his wife at the police station when Mark Ruffalo's character is offered a hug on the staircase.
Which that's the guy who survived at the lake.
Yes.
He was stabbed, but he didn't die.
Yes.
And now he's
Stabbed
here
many times.
to walk in the background
Scary.
6 times. But it was like all in succession. And then he didn't expect it, had no idea what was happening, so he just laid still. But then the woman, who had just watched it happen to him, was rolling all around. Much worse. He gets stabbed in a lot more places.
Yeah. So upsetting.
Oh, and so I mentioned this also when we were watching it, that because he wanted the films to be as accurate as possible, David Fincher decided not to depict any of the alleged Zodiac murders for which there are no surviving victims or witnesses. Also, the book, oh gosh, the writer, I can't remember.
I mean,
can't remember his
that
name.
book is thick.
Yeah, he thinks that
boy.
so many people
Thick boy.
could have been murdered by the Zodiac. Like, there's like a whole, 2-page list in the back of the book or something of people who might possibly be Zodiac victims. It's crazy.
It's a huge book.
This is my next section of facts.
What's it called?
David Fincher be crazy.
Oh boy. I was gonna be annoyed that you had a third section when we stopped. But then no, it redeemed it. It's fun.
David Fincher be crazy.
He knew though. So, the murder victims' costumes were meticulously recreated from forensic evidence that was lent to the production. The producer hired a private investigator to track down the real-life Zodiac survivor, Mike Magoo?
Sure.
Sure. Robert Downey Jr. was unaccustomed to the experience of both David Fincher's multitasking and the process of filming digitally that he rebelled against David for having no time to get his shit together in my trailer. Was a quote from him.
That just sounds so much like him. It sounds like a complaint that he's made to every director.
And this is what he would do. This is what he did to David. Robert Downey Jr. would hide mason jars full of his urine on set.
Ew. You're fired.
What?
No,
If you've ever been
unacceptable.
fired.
Hello?
No.
Hello? What in the world?
Men are so weird.
And this is so funny. I was dying to tell you this the whole movie, Nadine.
Isn't it so hard to do the fun fact after?
Yeah. Especially since all the things you were saying. So this is another extra thing David did. Hair was digitally added to close-up of Jake Gyllenhaal's knuckles as he draws on or holds letters. David Fincher felt Jake Gyllenhaal's hands were too hairless and pretty.
Nadine loves a hairy Jake Gyllenhaal.
False. These are
Loves him. The hairier the Jake Gyllenhaal, the better.
Nadine is a big fan of some manscaping. And this is the cleanest that Jake Gyllenhaal has ever looked in his life. And
He looked too clean. They had to dirty
Well, I
him
mean,
up.
Donnie Darko, he was pretty
Yeah.
young, so he didn't have a lot of hair. So same with Bubble Boy. I love that
he
movie.
still looked like a mess, though. Maybe in Bubble Boy.
He
I'd have to
crazy in Bubble
reimagine.
Boy.
It's too... You can't... You're not looking at Bubble Boy still being like, oh, hottie.
It's true.
This is my last section of facts. It's casting facts.
Casting facts.
Initially, David Fincher wanted Brad Pitt as Avery before settling on Robert Downey Jr., but apparently also Daniel Craig was a first choice for Paul Avery, but I don't know how realistic that was because Casino Royale came out the same year. Jake Gyllenhaal was David Fincher's first choice for the role of Robert Graysmith. Had Gyllenhaal turned down the role, Fincher's second choice would have been Orlando Bloom.
Interesting choice.
Same.
And I couldn't see it personally.
No, I can't see it
No.
either.
I honestly, I mean, I really enjoy watching Jake Gyllenhaal play this role. I don't necessarily think that he was, like, properly cast for it, because it's supposed to be, like, a divorced man with a child, and he's, like, a father. He's not, he doesn't have that, like, maturity about him. I don't, like, believe any of those things about him.
And you would believe it about Orlando Bloom?
Probably not. I'd have to see him with a kid, I guess. But either way, Jake definitely felt like the big brother. Who was like, oh, I'm getting my little bro ready for school. Go get your backpack, buddy.
Alright, so next is everyone's favorite parts. I think... See, I just loved Jake Gyllenhaal. He was a sweet baby angel the whole time. He was just like... He was adorable, and I think one of my favorite parts was, this was towards the end of the movie, and he's banging on Mark Ruffalo's door.
Crazy.
And he was like, Mark Ruffalo is pissed off. He's like, you've got to be kidding me. This guy again. He's like, I got to get my gun, because I can't deal with him. But anyways, Jake Gyllenhaal is like, oh, you got to come see what I found. Like, oh, you'd be so impressed. I did so good. It's so adorable. He's like, you made a mistake. Like someone wants to open the door. Like someone wants to open the door to that. Like, come, look at the mistake I found you made. Isn't that so exciting? Aren't you excited for me? But yeah, so I just loved the way he played that role, because it was just like, that's how he acted with everything. It was like almost this like giddiness that a child would have. Yeah. And I just loved it so much.
Oh man, my favorite part, I thought you were going to steal it for a second. My favorite part, it cracks me up every single time.
I think I know what you're gonna say.
It's
We
when
all know.
he's on the phone with someone, talking about like stuff he's found. He's like, "Oh, who's helping you?" And the guy on the phone says, "Who's helping you work on this?" And he's like, "Oh, my associate,
My colleagues.
Oh, some colleagues.
colleagues.
It's so good." And it's his kids in the background who he literally just moments before said, "Don't tell mom about our special time."
Special project.
Oh, special project.
Yes, I'm making it sound better, finally.
Yeah, it's already bad enough.
Funny.
Yes, and immediately his oldest son is like, Dad, look what I found! So cute.
So good.
My favorite part is probably the aqua velva.
That's what I was gonna say too. That's
Well, I
okay.
can do a different one if you want to.
No,
that
you
one.
have it.
Okay. I have another one back.
Okay. Well, I was gonna mention the Aqua Velva, so I guess you can mention your other one too, because
I love when his wife leaves him. I'm like, yes, huzzah. Also, I'm so annoyed with how quickly he's over it. He's like, ah. And then he turns the page over and he's like, oh yeah, this.
Clues.
Back to my murder escape.
He was so crazy.
yeah, I just like everyone's characters. I think it's funny. I like when Jake Gyllenhaal starts like going crazy and Mark Ruffalo's like, I can't help you, but you could try this guy. And he's like so just like giving him the next hint without being like, oh, I didn't do anything, sir. Like, it's so good. I don't know. I like when Jake Gyllenhaal just like loses it. He just goes crazy. It's so good.
I guess you should tell them the fact about the hamburger.
Oh, Mark Ruffalo is a fellow vegetarian, and there is a scene, well, there's actually two scenes where he has to eat meat. Like, there's a BLT scene, but that one isn't as, like, hard to cut around because he doesn't really eat it. It's like a short scene.
He chews that BLT for a whole lifetime.
Yeah, he stuffs his mouth like a freaking squirrel getting ready for the winter.
Yeah, there's another scene where they're eating burgers, which is just frustrating, which we've all decided. Couldn't just be eating a cheese sandwich, I don't understand.
Jeez. I don't know
Because you can order those.
But I do love it.
He's eating a burger, and basically what happens is he takes a bite, and then you can see him grab his napkin and just spit it into the napkin after the second bite.
Like, but you can tell, like, when he's trying to get the napkin, he's like, I gotta get this out of my mouth.
I gotta get this out of my mouth. I'm done. And it's funny because he takes, like, the tiniest little bites, but he, like, is acting like there's so much in his mouth. It's pretty funny. Although we were really, really stressed out when we were watching it.
Yeah,
we were mad stressed out for him.
Yeah, once you know that he's a vegetarian, it gives the scene, like, this whole different vibe because you're like, oh, you poor baby, spit it out, you can spit it.
Spit it out now, just drink your drink, you don't have to eat it.
Alright, so our least favorite parts. I would just say how long the movie goes on. I do wish we would have seen more of the murders. I respect that David Fincher wanted to only give accounts where there was actually an eyewitness there, but I mean, it's not like there were a whole bunch of them, and there are more than that you know, that the police officers think are tied to the Zodiac murders. So it's like, I wish they would have shown more. It would have helped with the move along of the plot, where it's like, because towards the middle, it really slows down, and you're like, all right, I wish the plot would pick up a little bit more so it didn't feel... Because there are movies that are longer that don't feel very long because of how much action is happening in the plot, and I just feel like that we don't see that a lot in the Zodiac movie.
Yeah.
Trying to have your cake and eat it too, though.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I want it shorter. Also include more things.
Look, things can be cut out. Okay?
Things can be changed.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it is a movie, like, I think when we watched it together, or some of us watched it together before, and the first time we were like, man, this movie's so good, but it's still going. We're not even halfway. Oh boy. And it's just, I think that really, like, takes a little bit away. I mean, it is so well done. And I wish they had at least the first Lover's Lane murder that the Zodiac was a part of in there, because, like, that's all with the generous mouth.
Oh, yeah, the generous mouth.
We never get to see him.
Amanda reads the Zodiac book, and she's never going to finish. It's going to be a long, lifelong joke that Amanda will never finish this book. But she brings us little tidbits, and one of the things in it was that they described one of the guys as having
first
knowing
male
eyes.
victim.
Yeah, the first male victim. He had knowing eyes and a generous mouth.
Inappropriate.
Ooh, baby.
It's not a way you describe a victim.
Yum, yum, yum.
Yeah.
Which girl did he describe as a goer?
Probably that first girl.
That's
No,
what
the
I would think.
The second
would think.
girl?
She
second
was
girl.
a
The
goer.
second murderer,
The
the first
second.
one in the
But in the
movie?
book
Woman
is
murder.
where he describes the girl as a goer.
Yeah.
Which
I think
a
means
real goer.
slut.
Yes. I don't know if he described her or if he's quoting someone else. I can't remember. I'd have to look at it myself.
She is described in the book as a goer.
Yeah, which woman though?
Is it the second one, the first one that's shown in the movie?
Well, okay. Well, a woman. He describes
Yeah.
her as a goer.
A
and we
victim.
say it all the
A
time
victim.
now. Like, at some point you guys will probably hear us again say goer and generous mouth because we say it all the time.
It's so funny.
What was the other thing we always say? Oh. The inappropriate thing that the cop says at one of the autopsies.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
says, he says, she was a beautiful girl. I was at her autopsy.
Oh my word.
Inappropriate, right?
Beautiful girl. I was at her autopsy.
I was at her autopsy. Oh my gosh, I hope a boy says that about me one day.
Oh no.
Dead bodies are attractive.
I know.
Big old necrophiliac.
Big old necrophiliac.
Big old necrophiliac.
This one's so hard because it's so good. I don't know.
Just all the time Jake Gyllenhaal's being a dick and not taking care of his family.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that's just true to life. That's just
Yeah.
what he's doing. I guess, like Megan talked about, where it's like towards the middle and it kind of starts to lull and you're a little like, oh gosh. But that's literally the only part. Like, and I can't, I feel like a chump for even saying it because it's not like I'm like pinpointing something specific, being like, so change this.
Mhm.
Like, I
Yeah.
don't, it was so well done. Like, David Fincher's just so talented.
Really
know.
I have to agree with the Peanut Gallery. I don't know. I think it's just, like, it's really good. There's just times where you're like, oh, like... And I think there's something about it that's kind of endearing because it makes it feel, like, true to life at how freaking long this whole process was. Like, it's consistently, like, 1 year later, 4 years later, 8 months later, and you're watching this movie and you're like, I think I'm living this life with them. Like, I feel like
this is happening in real time.
This is happening in real time. I have lost a year of my life. Like, this is madness. But
And then even at the end, when they like show you stuff to read on the screen, it's like 3 full pages. And you're like, you can't be asking me to read all this after a 3-hour movie.
yeah, and they leave it up there.
They're full paragraphs.
full
too.
paragraphs.
They're not just like a sentence or two. They're 3 full paragraphs.
Size
per
12 font,
screen.
double space.
Yeah, it is a mess. But it's
Much.
good. I think though I would kind of agree with Megan in the sense of like if they had changed some things where it's like more like murder scenes. I don't know, but then at the same time it's like Nadine said, you kind of feel bad because you're like, well, it's the movie. It's not like Seven where it's like they're constantly showing you murders.
Yeah, I mean, that's the easy thing with fiction is like you could just go crazy,
Right.
do it however you want and as fast as you want. But this was based in real life, so it's like there's all this like so it's like murder, and then he stops murdering
Nothing.
people. Paperwork, which is this movie.
Yeah. And so it's just like, it's really good, and I think it's definitely, like, we all agree it's a great movie. It's just there's times where you're like, okay! I have seen The Color Tan a lot lately. My life feels like tan, and I'm aging. This is hard.
So, plot quality. I mean, I definitely thought the quality of the plot was excellent. You could tell it was really well thought out, that David Fincher was trying to stay as close to real life and what actually happened to these people as he could, while still making a movie that was going to be successful. And so, which I do respect. It's like, yes, I may have complained about the length of the movie, and I wish it would have, the pace would have continued picking up as the movie went on, but I am grateful that he wasn't willing to compromise staying true to what actually happened in order to, shorten the movie or do those things. Like, I found that complaint because that was really the only thing I had to complain about was that, and that's why it was mentioned, but I think he did a very good job at making the plot quality really well.
And I'm watching those bromances develop
Ooh.
and then disintegrate.
The Coke binges. Nothing like it,
I know. I'll never be stabbed in the heart as hard as the detective was when his partner was like, I'm not coming in tomorrow.
So
Never trust again.
just keep the car, because I'm never going to see you again. He's like, okay.
Did you even leave me animal crackers in the glove box?
And then you see later his other partner's like, what are you talking about? Animal crackers.
So
Get out of
upsetting.
here.
Poor baby.
Oh.
It's not always true love.
Yeah, but I think he did a pretty good job of turning Robert Graysmith's madman rantings from the Zodiac book into, like, a feasible narrative. Because that book is long, and there's so much stuff in it, you're like, I don't know about this, Robert. This doesn't seem right. Seems like you're going out on a limb here, but okay.
But okay. I guess.
I also love the plot quality, and also this is random, but I love the song choices. I just feel like they're on point.
I'm always down for Donovan.
Yeah.
So next is the scares. Definitely did not enjoy watching when he went. What was that guy's name? Don't know.
Not
Some
great with
weird
names.
informant. Who worked at the movie theater with
One of the
Rick
suspects.
Marshall.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a suspect who Jake Gyllenhaal's character thought may have been the Zodiac, and so he was meeting with him, and already I was like, this is not gonna go well, because they were supposed to like meet up in like at a public place, and the informant gets there and he's like, let's go back to my house. I was immediately like,
Secondary location.
no, you're both already here. What do you mean let's go back to my house? And so Jake Gyllenhaal, being the dummy that he is, he went back to his house where he was locked in with a key, which is like, I'm never going to go into a house where someone locks the door with a key behind me. No.
Yikers.
Absolutely not. And then they go down into the basement, and it was like...
But this is after the guys, Jake Gyllenhaal's like, well, we think it's him based on these posters that he did the writing on, and he's like, oh no, he didn't do the handwriting on those. That was me. That was their number one lead to thinking it was that person.
Yes, and Jake Gyllenhaal had just admitted that to this person, and immediately he's like, oh, I have something to show you. It's down in the basement. And then he walks down the stairs, and he's like, are you coming? And I would have been like, no, I'm not. I would have found a window or something to climb out of. There's got to be another door in this house that doesn't key lock. Gotta be a way out. But yeah, so he comes down. It was just so crazy because you could tell the informant was getting a real kick out of the fact that
he was eating it up.
Yes, loved that he was scaring him. It's like, oh no, did not enjoy that. Surprised he wasn't murdered that night.
And then another one of the scares, it's definitely like one of the most tense moments in the movie because like you don't really see it coming, is the part Nadine was especially freaked out at. This part, it's the woman and she's just driving her car. She's got her little infant. She's also pregnant. In her car. She's just driving to wherever it is she's going. And this guy, like, he flashes his high beams at her or something.
Yeah. And he's like honking the
horn
horn like a crazy person.
And so she pulls over.
They're like in the middle of nowhere.
Never ever do that.
No.
Don't do it.
Gonna go
Just
to a gas
keep
station.
driving.
Anyway, so she pulls over and he like pulls up to her and he's like, "Oh, it looked like one of your hubcaps was like loose or something."
Tire.
Yeah.
I can just go in there, tighten up, fix it real quick for you. No problem. You don't have to get out. She's like, "Oh yeah, thank you so much." And he quote unquote does that,
And he
fixes
listens it.
drives off ahead of her, and then she starts driving, and her whole tire comes off because it was never loose in the first place. This guy was a maniac, and loosened it, and then he like reverses back and is like, "Oh my gosh, what happened?" Like he doesn't know, and then she's like, "Oh my gosh, my tire fell off. Like what the heck?" He's like, "Oh, you want to ride to the nearest service station?" She's like, "Sure, yeah." And she gets in the car with her baby, and then he's like, "Oh, you have a baby?" Anyway,
Disgusting.
he drives past the
more the
service
merrier.
station. Yeah, he drives past the service station. She's like, "Oh, what about that place?" He's like, "It's closed. All the lights are on it. It's definitely open." And then he's like, they're just like talking, and he says something just like,
Okay, it's the creepiest line in the whole movie. He looks at her and he goes, "Before I kill you, I'm gonna throw your baby out the window." And I was shook.
yeah. Nadine was
So
visibly tense
stressful.
at this moment, and she's seen it so many times. And like, anyway, the woman winds up taking the first opportunity she can and jumps out of the car, and she does not make any more mistakes after that. She's like,
A
"Don't
true
trust
queen.
any strange
Yeah,
men."
she's a boss.
And so the next, it cuts, so like, he says those creepy lines, and it cuts to her being in the road, and this truck being pulled over with its lights on, and she's just like screaming in the road, and this man's like, what, I'm trying to help, what do you want? Like, and then the woman pulls up, and she's like, "What's going on?" And he's like, I just found her on the road like this, she won't get in the car, she won't let me help her. And she's like, "Okay, ma'am, what's wrong?" And then she like just starts freaking out about her baby, and the woman's like, "Oh my gosh, where's your baby?" And then she hid the baby in the brush on the side of the road.
Smart.
So one of the scares that I love, and it's just like a little tiny baby one, but I think that David Fincher's just such a good director that he just milks even these little ones. So he had been getting calls to his house that were probably the Zodiac, and he gets one of those calls while he's in one of his crazy manic looking through all of his stuff moments, and he gets salty and he like slams it down, and then suddenly his door opens, and it's like, it's his ex-wife. Divorce papers.
Terrifying! Very scary are the murders. The first one's scary that they show. It's stressful because the two people, they're like young adults, they're not teenagers. The young adults, they go to the makeout spot in the car, and a car drives up behind them, and it freaks them out, but then the car drives away. It like drives past them, which of course everyone's like, okay, this is when you guys leave. This is when you guys turn the car on and you go home, because that was freaky enough. Like, you don't need to stay there and make out.
Honestly, these people shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Right.
She was a married woman. It was the 4th of July. She had people at her house. They don't show that in the movie, but it's a fact. She was having a 4th of July party after work that night.
So they had no business being there. They needed to be like, that was an omen, that we need to not be fooling around. Anyway, they get murdered. He comes back and he shoots. Well, they don't both get killed. The guy survives, but he comes and kills them. But really scary is the lake, because it's really stressful, because this lovely little couple, they're having a last hurrah before they go to college and separate and go their separate ways.
Before they graduate college.
Oh, before they graduate college and go into the real world.
Sociology major.
Mm-hmm.
You're right, he is a sociology major. Saves the world.
Stupid little dum-dum. Who am I? Give you my phone number? Shouldn't talk to you about him when he's still alive.
I know, he's like listening right now and he's like, you know what, Nadine?
But also, though, I heard him in this interview and he's talking about it. He was like describing it and he was like, yeah, and she was like, oh, there's someone here. And I was like, it's a public park. And she was like, they're behind that tree. And I was like, they're peeing. And I was like, don't talk like you have all this logic and you were right. You were wrong. She was right.
That's such a good point. Because he is, like, kind of a dick. Like, they're just chilling by the lake and the girl is freaked out because there's someone. It's the Zodiac killer. Anyway, he ties them up. Well, he has her tie him up and he ties her up and he stabs them. And it's crazy. And she dies. And the man doesn't die, and he makes the cameo. But it's definitely stressful. I mean, murder's always stressful. We know this. It's always scary. And it's like one of the worst ways I could imagine getting injured in a murder. Like, I don't know. It's just, like, the idea of being hogtied and then stabbed in the back.
So vulnerable.
Yeah, it just is like, something about it gets to my core where I'm like, ooh, I'd rather, like we talked about, I'd rather get shot running away or running into the lake or something, like, but being hogtied and then just viciously stabbed in the back. It just reminds me of American Horror Story, which is like one of the first times I ever saw that.
That's
being,
what
like,
they got
murder.
the idea from in one of the seasons.
Was Zodiac?
Yeah. When they do,
It's the first season, and it's the girl, the nurses.
No,
that's what I'm talking about.
The nurses in the murder house. That's probably more something like I think Ed Kemper or someone murdered a house of nurses. But no, in the Freak Show season, Twisty the Clown murders a couple picnicking in a field.
That makes sense. That's Zodiac. I just remember watching the first season of American Horror Story when he kills a nurse like that, and it just was like, oh my gosh, that is horrific. I just can't imagine the pain of like.
I mean, I think
through your rib cage. I can't.
I think just knowing like that I was hogtied, especially being her, because she witnesses her boyfriend get stabbed first. I would immediately start like hyperventilating and just freak out because I know I can't go anywhere and I'm next.
Yeah, you're next, and you're getting stabbed.
Yeah.
You know you're gonna get stabbed.
And he didn't realize, because he's not turned towards the
he's
killer.
looking at her.
He's like, look, everything's
Get
gonna be
stabbed.
fine. Everything wasn't fine.
Yeah.
No.
And they got stabbed.
I also think the scene where the taxi driver scene where he gets murdered is pretty eerie. Like the first time you watch it, because like the way David Fincher does the scene is like so beautiful. How it does that overhead shot and you just follow the cars along the road. It's so cool. And then you just like see like overhead from like this perspective of the window of the kids when the guy gets murdered and the other guy gets out, and you don't really know what's happening until like the investigation's there, but you know it's not good.
Yeah.
Alright, lastly, laughs. I know we already mentioned the Aqua Velva, but I did really enjoy that scene because Robert Downey Jr., as soon as Jake Gyllenhaal gets his fruity blue drink, is like,
so ridiculous.
What
looks delicious.
Everyone's
the
audience
hell
is
did
thinking
you
that.
just order? It's Aqua Velva, so tasty.
With the umbrella and an orange.
And so Robert Robert Downey Jr. tries it, and then it immediately cuts to later that night, and they have like 6 Aqua Velva empty drinks in front of them.
That's so good.
The waiter coming by and grabbing 4 of them at once.
I know.
The empty ones.
I know,
And
I
you
just-
still have 2 on the table each.
I just love it because it's not even like, it's not a bar where you would think they would even serve that kind of drink. So
No, it's like dingy looking.
You're like, you just all of a sudden you see this blue drink in front of him with like the umbrella and the fruit, and you're like, what is this? Are you on vacation to Hawaii right now? What?
It's like such a pretty blue.
I mean, my favorite part is
His colleagues.
his colleagues. I can't take it.
So I don't think this is meant as a funny part, it's just the truth, but it brings a lot of joy and hilarity into my life, is the fact that Zodiac not once, but twice calls in his murders, saying that it's a double murder, and this dummy never learned the value of a double tap.
No.
Twice, it's a single murder, and he left a survivor. Because
Yes.
he's stupid.
Twice.
He does not check to make sure they're dead.
A dummy.
Makes me so happy. Like,
He's
you
freaking
idiot.
stupid.
He's so dumb.
It just makes it even sadder that they never caught him. You're like,
Yeah.
"Come on, there were 2 people who lived."
I also have a part that I don't think is meant to be. I love that they just put their fingerprints all over everything.
Oh no, I kind of think that the like first scene when they're like handling that like is
They
supposed to be, like,
literally
a joke
hand
when
it
literally
around.
everyone touches it, because I'm pretty sure like
Even the guy who doesn't
the
read
guy
it.
doesn't look at it.
The
'cause
guy
I
that
think-
doesn't
I think
read
that
it.
was like direction I was giving them. It's like, everyone make sure you touch this, and I want to get it on camera. And so the guy who's like sitting, like, he wouldn't have touched or even looked at it because he wasn't even interested to begin with. But he's like, it was his direction, so he's like, get up, look at it, here you go, Jake.
I don't know. The animal crackers is really funny.
Oh yeah,
So good. We
Just
love.
the constant gag of animal crackers and
I mean, just the fact that a grown man is eating animal crackers to begin with,
And
out of the
refuses to
little box.
provide his own. Always expects someone to bring them for
where's
him.
my animal crackers? I also like Robert Downey Jr.'s ascots.
Yes,
The
so
whole
many.
time. I mean, come on. And that
And
jacket.
his legs crossed.
Yes!
When
The
he's on
short
his
little...
houseboat and his boxers, he's like, look at these
crosses
legs.
the legs. I love his painted jacket with like the sunset scene
Oh,
on
yeah,
it.
the
When
wet
Zodiac
sunset.
comes and they're searching his trailer and he gets out in those short shorts.
Oh my gosh! And they like blend in with his
Yes.
skin color too.
So
And you're
good.
just
Oh,
like,
no pants.
And you're like, what's happening?
you're like, oh no pants, and you're like, oh shorts, and it doesn't get better that he's wearing shorts.
No.
Like you almost wish he
Plaid-
wasn't
like
wearing
plaid
pants.
kind of shorts.
Yeah.
So
They're
weird.
wild.
They are.
Mm-hmm.
Who wears short shorts?
Zodiac.
Zodiac wears short shorts.
Zodiac wears short shorts.
The legs are wrench so.
Alright, how would we rate this movie? I think I would give it 4 out of 5 boxes of animal crackers.
Yeah, I'd say 4.5 boxes of animal crackers.
I always want to cut things in half.
4.8.
No,
I
but
cut
same,
a
same.
box of animal crackers in half.
Easily.
Cut it in half, you just take
Megan, haven't you ever split animal crackers before? Don't be a selfish panda.
Absolutely not. I'm eating all of them. They're all mine. Box ain't that big.
Crackers and my soup. I would give it 4 boxes of animal crackers.
Skipped me.
You said same.
Yeah, but does that count?
All right,
Go
Nadine.
ahead.
4 out of 5.
4 to 5 months.
Animal crackers. And they're the lions.
Just the crackers?
Yeah, they're the lions.
You don't
because
get
those
he
are my
doesn't get full
favorite.
boxes?
It means more.
He just gets the lions.
It means more because I picked out the lions for him.
That's
Okay.
how
My
it.
hand.
That's how it becomes 4.5.
She wiggles her fingers in the air.
Yeah, you guys, was my gesture.
hand.
Giving me jazz fingers over here.
Was it jazz fingers? They were more like murder fingers. Because it was like a weird, like...
I think this is murder fingers.
Yes.
I wish you guys could see that.
Put your hands together and then do jazz.
Well, either way, though, this was not jazz fingers. That is not what they have to do.
Sea anemone.
Sea anemone.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Alright, guys. See you next movie night. And don't forget, there are only 187 days till Halloween. Bye!
Yeah. Bye. I'm laughing at Nadine having such a reaction when you didn't even open your mouth to
I
burp.
know, and I like did it into my sweater.
And she's still like, I hate your kind. Yeah. Okay. Professionalism.
They'll probably be asleep by the time we're done with Creep, maybe. Or at least
Maybe.
quiet.
It is Friday night.
I feel like it's still funny now because we're recording the first one, and the time we're recording the 4th one of the weekend, we're gonna be like, shut up!
Maybe we should just sit up in the car.
Sorry, I guess I'm looking at ghosts.
Ghost
Can you
cat?
see them?
No, did you see something?
No.
Okay.
It was like,
Literally
no, I was
ghosts.
just staring off in the distance.
I'm like 60% sure there's a ghost cat down here at the very least, so.
Yikes. Jinkers.
Yeah, jinkies.
Jinkies.
About throwing her baby out the. He's like, I'm gonna kill
Oh
you.
yeah, before I kill you.
Before I kill you, I'm gonna throw your
I'm
baby
gonna throw
out
your
the
baby
window.
out the window.
Okay, now once without all of us
Yeah.
saying it over top each other.
Nathan, you say it.